Today, we have a number of wonderful presentations and speakers. And as the CEC was trying to plan the topics, we felt that something that's very important is inclusivity. To be inclusive is part of our mission. That's the way Jesus spoke about everything that he taught us. And in our classrooms, you might have had, or maybe will have, a child who is not your quote unquote typical student. And that comes with many different scenarios. And so today we've asked Jeanette Talbot, who is a seasoned teacher in the classroom and as a special education teacher, who's going to be giving us some tips and advice, and then asking you, because you have had similar experiences possibly, and what you've done in the classroom. So Jeanette, we welcome you and look forward to what you have to share with us.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. I've been a teacher for 27 years in the public schools in special education classrooms, and I'm excited to share about my favorite topic in the world, and that's special needs students of all ages. I've taught ages 3 through 22. The the one thing about today is that, by the way, I live here in Big Bear Lake, California, and you can reach me at any time. My number and is my phone number and my email are at the end of the presentation. Uh, I had my son help me with this PowerPoint, and lo and behold, I found out something interesting. He teaches about Armenian history in his world history classes at a university in Michigan. And so we got to talk about Armenia a little bit, and he has chosen some of the slides for you here that I enjoyed, and I hope you do too. The other is that I did visit Armenia during the Soviet era, and but had a wonderful, wonderful experience. We went to a church outside of Yerevan, and we could see I hope I'm pronouncing all of this correctly, Mount Ararat from the church. And it was a delightful pastor from Fresno that was there speaking to us. We visited some ruins afterwards, and a family was sitting eating watermelon at a table there by the ruins, and they invited us. It was a group of educators invited us to sit and enjoy their watermelon. So I've had a little bit of experience with Armenia, and I'm glad to be here today with you. Okay, so let's go to the first slide. We're going to talk about classroom success for atypical students and approaches for Sunday schools. This illustration, oops, can we go back to the other slide? The illustration here is from an Armenian Bible in the 1600s and is housed at the J. Paul Getty Museum. The next slide. Thank you. So we'll have 3 areas that we'll review today: welcoming new students, understanding behavior, and preparing the classroom. And that will, among other things, include an activities box. And I want you to have resources to successfully integrate atypical students into your Sunday school classroom. And I speak to you as a teacher and what I've learned in the classroom over the years. And you can adjust it to your church guidelines and the needs of your students. Thank you. Next slide. Okay, the first area is welcoming new students. We're going to speak to parents and guardians and I want you to know that the inclusion that you're providing is invaluable to these students and their families. I've I've heard parents talk about how much it means to them to have their children included in their religious life. Okay, next slide. So, in talking to parents and guardians, some questions that I would ask if I were interviewing your your parents or guardians is the first one being, how does your child communicate? Some children may be verbal, some nonverbal. And if they're nonverbal, do they use gestures? Maybe they know American Sign Language. Maybe they have an iPad program with a communication app on it that allows them to communicate if they're nonverbal. And then there's a wonderful program that's called PEX, is Picture Exchange Communication System. And it was first started in 1985 and has been used all these years very successfully. And they may come in with a board that has pictures on it that they can move around that says, I'm hungry, I need to go to the bathroom, I feel afraid, I feel happy, I would like this toy. So there's all kinds of ways a child who is nonverbal can communicate. Another question is, does your child become anxious and what does it look like? This will be important information about how they help their child when they feel overwhelmed or anxious. Next, does your child have a diagnosis? And they can share that with you. Next, is your child able to sit and attend during an activity for 20 minutes? And that will be good information to know. An important information is, does your child wander? Um, and that is one of your important questions. Does your child harm himself, herself, or others? That's going to be another important question. And with this one, you can also ask, and what do you do to help your child with that? And then, are there items that help your child? Do they have a communication device? Do they need headphones? Do they do they have sensory objects that they use? And maybe they wear a weighted vest. We do provide that in the classroom, and maybe they have one at home too. What I would do with the questions you want to ask and any questions that you want to use from this list is to make a checklist so that you have them and you can write down the answers to their questions. The um, and then next slide. And then the last thing that you'll speak with parents about is, would they provide you with the school district forms? And they are part of the team that puts these kinds of forms together. They will have a copy. Sometimes I found that they couldn't find it. And they'd ask me as their teacher to, can you make me another copy? Can you email this to the Sunday school teacher? The first one is the IEP, or Individualized Education Plan. And these are written for grades preschool through 12th grade. Even we provide education for ages 3 through 22. So it has these grades on here, but it does expand at both ends. The This is a very important document that will truly help in the classroom. What they what happens is a group of people that provide service for the student get together and they write about their present level of performance, their needs, and their goals. And it's a year-long plan for this child or this student. It may include academic goals. It may include behavior goals. It may include social skills. It may include self-help skills. So it's a wonderful way for you to get a picture of a student very quickly, and you can use the knowledge that all these people have collected. For instance, it'll be their psychologist, it'll be their speech therapist, it'll be their occupational therapist, it'll be their physical therapist. It the the list of services that children can receive are lengthy. Next is the ITP, and that is the Individualized Transition Plan, grades 9 through 12. And these are as students move out of school and into the community. Maybe they'll get a job, maybe they'll live independently, and these are all goals that they'll need for that. 504 plan is for accommodations without modifications to the curriculum. So these will be students that are functioning at their grade level. And it may be that they're vision impaired or hearing impaired. And so they just need technology to help them access the curriculum. And the last one is a behavior intervention plan. And that can be included in the IEP, and this can be included sometimes as a short-term a solution, where we're looking at a particular behavior. Examples of this whole, the entire IEP, the entire ITP are accessed on the last page under resources. My son made a Google Drive file that you can see the entire form. They are they're examples, but there is no information there that it's made up. The whole form is made up. So, yes, thank you. Steps for success, welcoming new students. Okay, after the interview, you're going to review any paperwork you have and then schedule a visit for the parent and child to visit the classroom when other students aren't there. If they can move around the classroom and see what it is, it will help with their transition immensely. If they're visually impaired, it helps. If they're if they have autism spectrum disorder, they want to see what's there. So that's a wonderful time for them to explore. And then on the first day, ask the parent or guardian to remain with a student. This can be what we call a one-on-one aid, where it's one adult to one student who helps this student as they move into a classroom that they haven't been in. And then allow the parent or guardian to be in attendance for as many days as needed. I was just at a workshop that we were providing for children at our elementary schools, and there was a parent there in the public school that was helping. She went to school each day with her son. I had another student whose father did the same thing with his son. So that is something that is asked. Okay, next slide. Okay, this is the second area. And I'm going to speak to you today about children with autism spectrum disorder because they may be your most prevalent students that you have. And we can explore a variety of areas. Next slide. First of all, this is the definition for an atypical student, and I'll let you read it. It's sort of self-explanatory. Their development is different than their same age peers, and it can be in a variety of areas: learning disabilities, autism, emotional or behavior disorder, intellectual, speech and language, physical disabilities, sensory impairments, and ADHD. And I was in a field where I did provide a, an education for all these students um, in different classrooms, but um, it you may get these students in your classrooms, and I'll be very willing to speak to anybody about these, and you can um, ask me at any time, even after this presentation, for ideas. And if I can't think of anything, then I'll find a resource for you. So next slide. Autism spectrum disorder. The DSM-5 um, it defines two main symptom areas, and it's deficits in social communication and interaction, and restricted repetitive behaviors, interests, or activities. I'm not going to cover the whole definition, but you can access it through this link. And I've drawn the DSM-5 from Autism Speaks, which is a wonderful site to get to know children and adults with autism. Oh, and I'm going to speak to you before we move on that about a woman that helped me understand what autism was for her. I was in a training, and there were about 50 of us teachers sitting in this good sized room, and the presenter was a teacher in a class for autism, and she said she had had a student that went through her class, and now was an aide in her class. She had grown up. And she was going to ask this young woman to speak to us about what autism looks like for her. And I was amazed at what she could tell us. Before she was asked in, the teacher asked us to be quiet, to speak quietly if we have a question with her, and just watch our behavior so that we don't overload her sensory deficits. So she came in, and that was the first thing she addressed. She addressed what it was like to be in this classroom of 50 teachers. And she said she could see all of the fluorescent lights in the ceiling. She could see all of us sitting there. She could see every single chrome leg on the chairs. She could see all the table legs. She could see all the fibers in the carpet. She could hear us as we wrestled in our seats. She could hear the air conditioning blowing air into the room. She could hear the traffic outside the room. She could hear the work that was being done on the road outside the room. And I can't imagine personally how wonderful it was that she could deal with all those senses coming in and no filter. She had to figure out herself a way to self-regulate and interact with us. So I truly, I truly love working with our students. I've worked even with adults. Um, and it becomes a passion and a delight, especially when they share with us like that. Okay, and the next slide includes sensory activities, communication differences. These are unique experiences, social interaction, emotional regulation, and intellectual cognition for just a few of the things that um, that they experience as they move through our world. Next slide. This one is about looking at how we're going to interact with their behavior in the classroom. Number one, safety for all the students is the priority. That's in any classroom, but especially if you have a special needs class who's working with sensory issues. So number one, you're going to know the method of this, you're going to know the method the student uses to communicate. And these are the methods that we talked about earlier. And if you don't know how to work their iPad or their PECs, then the student will help you with that because they will use it and you will watch. Keep your communication short and simple. If you're giving directions, give one direction and then the next because they have all this sensory information coming in. So you keep your communication short. Only one person at a time speaks to the student. And that's, it's our inclination when a child is struggling or another adult is struggling and you want to step in and help. But I suggest you don't because it'll just be confusing to the student. Let them bring a favorite item from home. I had a little 3-year-old who would bring his 12-inch dinosaur into the classroom. But you know what? It helped him with transitions. Transitions are hard for our students, and it helped him transition from the car to the school to the classroom door to coming into the classroom and hanging up his jacket and going to the first activity. I had another student who wore part of a blanket, it was a small part, around his neck, and that made him feel safe, and he wore that all day. The next item is they may pace, rock, jump, flap their hands. Let them. This is a vestibular input to help with their sensory overload. I was, you may know about Jackie and Shadow from the bald eagles from our community that were on the news and all over the world, we found. Um, and I was teaching a Zoom lesson to a classroom. I taught all over the US and Canada. And the children were sitting in front of their interactive board or their Zoom. I was on Zoom. And in the background was a boy who was pacing back and forth. He wasn't interfering at all with the presentation or the children interacting with me. And I was just so pleased that that teacher knew what to do. They knew that he needed to pace, and that's okay. Um, you might want to shorten their time in class. They have them at first spend just 15 minutes in the class. Um, and then move out, and expand the time as they can. You might simplify the students for the atypical student if needed. Maybe if you have a 12th grader and you've got a worksheet that they're to write in, um, some thoughts or some answers, you might want to take and your student the atypical student needs to is performing at the first grade level, and you may dot in the word so that all he has to do is trace the letters. Or there's another website that I have used. It's called Teachers Pay Teachers, and it you can type in what you're looking for, and you can buy a lesson for as little as $3. And 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 the I'm sorry. I did sir, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
I'm
So
very sorry, Jeanette. Please, this is to all participants. Please mute your microphones, please.
okay. Okay. It happens on everyone. every every Zoom, I think. The I did type in Armenian Sunday school lessons, and I'm almost reluctant to tell you how many came up because you might not want to use the site. It's called um, there was a 1,400,000 lessons, and I don't know if they fit with your curriculum, but you could maybe find something for a student who isn't performing at your level, the age level, but at their educational level. And then be flexible. That things are going to happen, and it's okay. And then another thought is provide positive behavioral support, including things like verbal prompts. Oh, I see you sitting there. How nice. Or we call it first, then. So first, you will join us in this activity, and then you can go to the activities box. Oh, next slide. And this is preparing the classroom. So we're going to anticipate the needs of our children that are in our classroom that are atypical. Next slide. Some of the easy things that we can do to provide an activity that an atypical student can engage in is provide a quiet corner for sensory breaks, which can include a chair, a floor pillow, or a beanbag chair. And you could use a chair. I know you're not in your own classrooms, so I'm trying to make this fit what you might encounter in your classroom. I'm assuming that you're not in your classroom. Maybe you are. um, and then gates for the doors in the classroom because we want to deter wandering from the classroom, and that is something that ASD students will do. You may want to dim the lights. Some teachers do that, some don't, because those fluorescent lights can be a sensory problem for our children. And check to make sure that check for unsafe and fragile items in the room. Our children can be quick on their feet and their hands as they spot something in the room. And then an important thought, even if they aren't participating yet in the lesson, they are learning to be present in a new social environment. And this is the first step to attending. Next slide. So this is a box of activities that I think you can put together and carry into the classroom. It's easy to carry in. What you're going to do is put together a box of things that can be used independently by the students. And you're going to put 4 to 6 items in the box to provide choices. And you will use this box maybe as they walk into the room. Just the transition into the room is difficult for them. So they can go to this box. You put the box at the back of the room where they can go, maybe it's at a table, maybe it's on the floor, and they can find something in this box that they enjoy. These are the kinds of things that I had for my children who needed a break, or they were motivators, and I never knew Dollar Tree until I went back into teaching, and it was. For a while, I had another job in between my first 2 chapters of teaching. And so when I went back into teaching, here was Dollar Tree with books and whiteboards and magnetic boards and color matching activities, paper and markers, dinosaurs, cars, small dolls, wooden blocks, flashcards that might have alphabets or have the alphabet or numbers. They could be about insects or sea life. Dollar Tree has amazing things for the classroom. Puzzles and Play-Doh. And then I put down a couple of things from Amazon. Their sensory items for kids is what they brought up as I began to type it in. This is what they had in their search engine. And the first one is sensory fidget toys. And that's the little monster looking item down there, but there's all kinds of sensory items that they can hold in their hand. For instance, the spinners that were popular a while back. Sensory beads, and they are not beads that you string. They're the beads that you see down there that are sort of like clay. And then the Hoberman sphere. You want to avoid items. Oh, can you go back one? Thank you. You need to avoid items that make noise or roll around. And then I wanted to point out that this allows you to teach. Well, if you send the child to work on the activity box, then you can teach the other children who are ready to learn, and it teaches this child to be independent and to be in the classroom and for you to teach. Also, as they become relaxed in the environment and they're ready to engage in the class activity, let them take a little fidget toy with them into the group, because that will help them remain in the group. And you as the teacher can choose how you're going to use this when they arrive, when they need a break. And now we're ready for the next slide. These are some of the resources that are available. Maybe the nearest higher education institution has a student or two from the special education department that would like to be volunteer and help in the classroom, and they want to experience the kind of children that they are going to be working with. This is a church by church decision, obviously. And then there's an organization called SELPA, and they are, I've only stated the ones in California and in Los Angeles. In Los Angeles alone, there's 21 SELPA offices, and they provide services for a wonderful, wonderful support for teachers and schools and students and parents. And they even provide providers such as the speech therapist or the psychologist. And the second one is Regional Center, who provides lifelong services. There are 7 offices in Los Angeles. The social workers for my students would come and visit my classroom and observe the children and speak with me. And then those samples of that I spoke about earlier to for the IEP, the ITP, etc. You can access them on this Google Drive. And then I'd also like to say, talk to another staff member at your church. Support each other. That will be a great source of this is what worked for me today, or this, what are you doing in your classroom? You can be a support for each other. And then the next slide. So now I'm ready for any details that you would like to hear about, or what worked for you in the past and what has not.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
In my experience, there was a case when the parents, brought their child, but they never mentioned that the child has any kind of, I don't know if it's right to call disability or problem with, staying still in the class you know, and when the teacher notices it, how do you address it with the parent, not to offend them, not to upset them, but you obviously can see that the child has some kind of problem.
Well, I would suggest that maybe you want to have this checklist for every student that comes in, so you're not singling out children with disabilities. Maybe that's too big of a task, but so you have that. And then I think you want to be empathetic and but you also want to be honest. You would want to talk to them. First of all, you might want to ask for, I don't know, do you draw them out of church to speak with to come and help with their student, if you're talking about that, or you speak to them at the end of the day and say, we had a question about his ability to sit. Can you give us can you tell us what you do at home to help him sit in a chair? Or he is, he was feeling pretty anxious today. What do you do when he feels anxious? Without putting a label on it, but just talking about the behavior that you're seeing. Does that help?
Okay, yeah, makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have a similar comment. I'm sorry, I apologize. I missed the first 10 minutes of your presentation, but it seems like we are assuming self-disclosure. However, there are a lot of parents who do not self-disclose, and questioning the child's behavior might make them feel uncomfortable. So I do agree with your suggestion of having these types of questionnaires when they're enrolling so that we know what exactly we will be dealing with and we can prepare for that parent interview.
Oh, good. Well, and I have to admit that happened with us too. A boy began to have seizures and was taken to the hospital and put on medication, and this parent didn't share that with us. And he had a seizure in the class, and it was all new to the staff. Or a parent will say, well, he came home and he was so upset, and the child had had a wonderful day at school. So I'm sorry to admit that it does happen.
If I could say something, and I'm hoping others will join in too. I think number one in all situations, it's to make the conversation with the parent a private conversation. We know that it's a really tough thing. There's always parents around in your classroom or other children. And this conversation, no matter what you say, you'll probably not say the wrong or right thing. It's doing it in a private place so that the parent knows that it's between you and them, not with everybody else listening and talking and whatever around you. And just being gentle and honest is necessary because you're looking out for the best interest of the child and how to interact with them and your whole classroom.
I have a question. Thank you for being here and for you gave some really great advice and information. So, if you have a child in your class like this, and I know this depends on the age of the children in the classroom, but do you have any tips on explaining to the other children why this one child is a little different in the classroom and he can't sit still or he's running around while you're trying to teach the others, like they get distracted from the lesson?
Yes, and then you become the teacher of one child and not 19. And did you say another child is explaining? Can you say
No,
that?
so like if I'm teaching the class
Mhm.
and they're all on the carpet, my classroom is 3, 4, and 5-year-olds, so it is it's a little challenging. So if there's one and he gets up and wanders and he goes to this one area where there's something like a little chalkboard or something for him, the others will immediately, look at why is he able to do that? Why can't I get up and do that too?
I see. Yes. And that does happen. I understand that. And I think that they get used to it. They may feel, those little ones may feel that at first, but they may get used to him going over there. Um, and if you have any help in the classroom, maybe they can, you know, and they can go over with him, but and sort of get between the children and him as he's in that area. The it's just hang in there. That is one thing that we find that when we introduce a new behavior or a new solution to a behavior, that we have to hang in there. And it doesn't work right away, but if we give it time, it usually does. Not always, but usually. And I understand those little ones are so cute and busy.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
I bet.
Yeah, I think the concept of, one child being able to do something different, but the other kids can't, they need to stick with the group. If there's a narrative for that you've learned over time that would satisfy most students, it would be really helpful.
Okay, and the first then my phrase might work for them. First, we're going to read this story. Then will play. Or I don't know. There's so many cute little phrases. I love the way preschool teachers use our friends. Well, our friend needed to go over to this area right now, and we will be able to go over to that area too. But our friend needs this. That's a good question. I like that. And if anybody comes up with a good phrase, I would love to hear it.
We have
I
seasoned
share a
teachers.
phrase.
We have seasoned teachers amongst us. Who else would like to share what you do when you have somebody has to do something different? I know what I would say. When I would taught kindergarten, I would say, Johnny we all talked about it, first of all. I would probably say something like, we can see that Johnny runs around a lot, and to help him to do XYZ, he needs to go into the corner for a few minutes. And then when we finish this story, we can do XYZ. So you need to, I think, tell the kids what's happening, not to hide it, but just to, in a gentle way, inform them what is happening in your classroom.
Zara, I have a phrase that might help.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a good teachable moment to teach the whole class about fairness. So there's a saying that being fair isn't about giving everyone the same thing, but being fair is giving each person what they need. So I know with 3 and 4-year-olds, that might be a little more challenging because they're so, into their own kind of reality. But I saw a school counselor one time at the elementary level come into a classroom, and it was like primary kindergarten or first grade or second grade. And she had a really cute activity she did. She brought in a basket of Band-Aids, and she gave each child a scenario, like one child fell down and, had a gashed knee, or another child had their feelings hurt by something their friend said. And she would pass out a Band-Aid to each child, even though each of their hurt was something different. And at the end, she asked, was I being fair? I mean, I gave everyone a Band-Aid, didn't I? And then the children caught on. They said, well, not everybody needed a Band-Aid. You just gave everyone the same thing. So I thought that was a really cute activity that kind of illustrates fairness.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice. Any other comments or questions for Jeanette?
I'd just like to say that I really appreciated the initial designation of these 2 types of behaviors and some of the resources that we can go back to. I never thought of having a questionnaire that would ask those kinds of really important questions about kids that are coming into the Sunday school. And the answers to all those questions are good for all the kids. So, and in terms of fairness or not feeling like someone is being singled out, if the student arrives at the beginning of the year with everyone else, or if everyone does fill out that form or is asked to, that I think makes it less, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it makes it clean and it's fair. It's across the board. So when you ask more questions, it's not out of the blue or in any way offensive. So I'll use the questionnaire. Never even thought of it. And the IEP plan, having access to that, wow, I would never think of asking for that. So very good ideas. Thank you.
Thank you.
A nice roadmap.
Thank you.
Okay, I think, Jeanette, we truly appreciate your time in creating and sharing your presentation with us. You've had a lot of experience and we've learned a lot from you. Thank you so much. We really thank you from the bottom of our hearts.